Run it, baby. Ricky Cheese, baby.
Welcome to Grinding for Greatness. This is your boy, Ricky Cheese. Today's episode features three-time Ohio State champ, four-time NCAA qualifier, four-time Big Ten place winner, and a member of the 2015 National Championship team, The Ohio State University. It brings me great pleasure to introduce the craziest base-jumping wrestler in the world, the one and only Johnni DiJulius. This episode of Grinding for Greatness is sponsored by NRG Solutions. NRG Solutions is a family-owned and Florida-operated solar and energy efficiency company proudly supporting the FloridaWrestling.com and the Grinding for Greatness podcast. Their operating owners, Jeff Messner and Logan Lightsey, are both former Winter Haven High School wrestlers. After many years of faithfully serving their community, their families decided to step outside the box and create a company geared solely towards energy efficiency. NRG Solutions helps their homeowners gain energy efficiency through several different solutions: solar, roofing, heating and AC units, HVAC, and home generators. Making the switch to an energy efficient home might seem easy, but finding lasting companies with your best interest in mind, not so easy. Now, their families are here to stay, and they're very committed to providing you with the best energy-efficient products and ongoing customer service you can count on. NRG Solutions has open sales positions available and would invite all former wrestlers to apply for these positions. Their company strives to embody the discipline, drive, and community the wrestling world built within them. It's a way of life at NRG Solutions. So go to www.nrgsolutions.life for more information or contact Jeff Messner at 863-287-6903. NRG Solutions, it's a way of life. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to grind for greatness. Enjoy the show.
Man, I appreciate you having me. I just wanted to say, you were talking before we started recording. You said, you were telling me a little bit about the Florida wrestling room, 24,000 people, all this stuff. And I think you were kind of being humble. You were saying, hey, it's not, the biggest yet. But I think something to keep in mind, to pat yourself on the back, 24,000 people that's like a Taylor Swift concert. That's an entire arena of people listening to you. So like I always tell people that are like trying to do social media, if you get 10, 15,000 views, I know the million view video is what everybody wants. 15,000 views as an entire concert arena hearing you talk. That's a big freaking deal. Yeah. So good job.
No, I appreciate that. And one of the posts that I put on the Facebook page, I was looking the other day, it had 75,000 views.
And wrestling views are different than like anything else.
Right.
Because that's niche.
Right.
It's very niche.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very niche. Of course. So yeah, definitely. No, I gotta look at it a little differently, but I am very proud of what I created and the people, man. If it wasn't for the people, it'd be nothing. So
I'm a big cheerleader of anybody that does things to grow wrestling at all. And I think that, wrestlers in general, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. And I'm guilty of this too. I'm not just going at other people, but we shoot ourselves in the foot with a lot of like archaic tendencies. Like we don't like a lot of content. Hey, act like you've been there before. And it keeps us very robotic. So whenever people in wrestling are making content and being, modern 2024, I get excited because you know what, we got to keep up with the times. There's a lot of cool videos on basketball and football and baseball, and we gotta bring some spice to wrestling. So, anybody that's willing to do that, good job.
Absolutely, 100%. So we get very little credit as it is. To me, toughest sport in the world. So yeah, what you're saying, absolutely. Let's do what we got to do and put the eyes on her. For those people that don't know, that maybe are listening, that are just starting to get into wrestling, let me give you a little background on Johnni DiJulius. He was a three-time Ohio State champion in 2009, 2010, 2011, back-to-back. Where did he wrestle at in high school? Well, he wrestled at Walsh Jesuit, where the Iron Man is, right? That's where the Iron Man is. Yep. Big-time wrestling up there in Ohio. He was a four-time qualifier at the big show, 12, 14, 15, and 16. and part of the national championship team at The Ohio State
That's
University, if I'm not mistaken. 3-time Big Ten placer,
No, all four. I
ridiculous
got
in
all four
itself.
in there. I got all four in there.
Oh, hold up. Okay, so I did my research, and it was the year before your senior
that
year. So
happens sometimes. Yeah.
four-time Big Ten placer, and he won the 2013 Cliff Keen Invitational, just to name a few. So he's got some credentials. We're going to talk about all that. We're going to talk about his coaching, which he's doing as well, along with about 80 to 100 freaking clinics and camps a year. We got a shit ton to talk about, and the base jumping, of course, crazy bastard. But yeah, so let's talk about the wrestling real quick. So the first time I ever met you, which I don't even know if you remember or not, but my son Nick Marcus was running the Florida Pride Wrestling Camp. The year I met you, it was at Weber International University, which is right outside of
Tampa.
Lake Wales. Around that area, Lake Wales, Tampa area. So that's where I first met you. It was you. You brought Bryce Meredith with you. J.O. was there.
Dude, we picked Bryce up from the airport, and this is like, in hindsight, such a dumb idea. But we went and picked him up at the airport, and me and Palacio and Jordan Oliver and Richie thought it would be funny to have a bunch of Nerf guns. And like we pop out of the freaking car at the airport and we're shooting him. And I'm thinking like, oh, this like was not a good idea.
Well, it's funny you said that, because I don't know if you saw this, but one of Nick's promo videos was at camp with those Nerf guns. You guys were just walking up. Somebody was sitting on the toilet bowl. You reached over the freaking stall and just lit their ass
that's
up.
important too. I think to really think about what Nick did a really good job of, and Florida Wrestling Room dads that are listening, and moms, if you're in there too, I might go at you a little bit. I don't mean to. It's not an attack on you. It's more of an attack on wrestling and the mindset in general. The reason we do this is because it's fun, and we have to remember that, right? I know we have these kill yourself practices, and oh my gosh, I hate my life, and you got to get in a fist fight, you got to want it more than the other guy, and all these cheesy lines. But at the end of the day, I like wrestling. And when it comes to camps, right, Nick does a good job of making wrestling fun, right?
100%.
And like I do 80 clinics a year. And in those clinics, the number one thing I'd want kids to take away would be, hey, cool moves, right? Obviously, it'd be great. Hey, I come in, I do cool moves, and they get better at wrestling. That'd be great. But if I'm not relatable, if they're not having fun, if I'm not, a good storyteller or a good teacher, if I can't deliver on those first three things, then it doesn't matter how good the technique is. It doesn't matter if I'm Jordan freaking Burroughs, right? It's not going to stick. So the first three priorities that come with is, dude, let's freaking have some energy. Let's have some fun here. And then the rest will kind of follow through. Camps is really where I learned to fall in love with the sport. And that's a really hard thing to do in wrestling because, like you said, it's the hardest fucking sport in the world, right? So any little thing you can do to find ways to love the sport, we should champion those things. Like if it's playing games on the bus on the way to the event, if it's, warming up and messing with the guys in the sauna, or if it's, whatever, right? Let's find ways to love the sport, and then we'll be willing to suffer for something we love. You know what I mean? So that's really important to me. It's really important to me. Exactly. It doesn't have to be the drill sergeant thing 24/7 where I hate my life. Right. It can't be. Right. There's a time for that, but that's not the only way to be great,
1,000%. I couldn't agree with you more. Being in the sports, I'm 56 years old. I started when I was 8 years old, wrestled through the youth ranks in upstate New York, where I was born and raised.
Where in New York? What section were you?
Orange County, New York, Monroe Woodbury High School. That's not where I went. That's where I would have went had I still lived there before we moved to Florida. It's right by West Point.
I got you.
Yeah, right by Army Wrestling. Cool. So 15 minutes away.
I almost coached at West Point. So, I interviewed there, and they actually offered me to go up there, first RTC and then coach eventually, but I ended up staying at Rutgers.
Yeah, but then you still wound up in the EIW.
Still in the EIW. I was at Harvard for a couple of years. Yeah,
exactly.
I like to say I went to Harvard. I went there every day, but I didn't go to school there. But I went there every day.
So, bro, when I don't know if you're married or have a fiance, but when you were single, did you ever, like, when girls would say, "Hey, you wrestled? Where'd you go?" Did you ever say Harvard?
Palacio, this is funny. So me and Palacio, Dylan Palacio, two-time All-American from Cornell, and when I'm at Ohio State, I was BSing through classes. I show up once in a while. You could just get by. It was easy,
Right.
right? And if you can do the bare minimum, and you'll be all right. But so I always pictured like how much smarter can these Ivy League guys really be, right? They are. Like they are
Yeah.
they are that smart. Like I know that
Oh, yeah.
what we have right now in the world is everybody thinks it's just a bunch of, oh, it's just a bunch of liberal arts majors and gender. No, these guys are like curing cancer. Like they're insanely
Right.
smart, right? So I get up there and I'm meeting like, Palacio went to Cornell and I got all these other friends that went to other Ivy League schools. And, it's a big freaking deal to graduate from Cornell. So we're walking
Right.
around, when we're doing clinics together, we go on the road together and he'll introduce himself. He's like, yo, Dylan Palacio. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, I went to Cornell. What about you? I'm a Harvard man myself. I would always say that. He would just look at me
Oh,
like, are
yeah.
you kidding me? Like, I literally bled for Cornell. You could
Yeah.
just say Harvard.
Oh, I could imagine the look on his face when you said that. That's fucking hysterical. That's some funny
Oh,
shit
yeah.
right there, man. So when I was going back to what I was saying was, with the whole having fun thing, now that I run the Facebook page and the website, I've got so many dads. I raised three
Yep.
wrestlers.
What?
Nick
What's
and
Nick
his
and
younger
is he
brothers.
the oldest?
Nick's the oldest. Then I got Dylan, who's 4 years younger than him. Dylan was a state finalist, and then the baby Bryce, he was a state champ.
Nice.
He was.
But
I
what
always
Nick
say
do?
the little one.
Nick was state champ.
No, man. Nick didn't even touch a mat until he was
Oh,
ninth grade.
really?
Nick
Oh, I didn't know that.
never wrestled. Yeah,
He looks like
he
such a
actually,
wrestler. Like his body, his everything. You know what I mean?
yeah, he grew into a good wrestler, but no, man, never won a state title. Went a couple of times, but
Bro,
he
if I
never
had to
never
wrestle
placed.
Nick, if I like was in high school and I saw him with like braids, the cornrows, I would be
Yeah,
terrified. I'd be like,
right. With
this guy's
tattoo
gonna
and everything.
mess me up. Like he's gonna fuck me
Yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. Exactly, and that's how most of them looked at him because he had the
Yeah.
tattoo as a sophomore. Because he says to me, he goes, "Hey, if I qualify for the state tournament, can I get a tattoo?" He's like 15
Yeah.
years old, and I'm like, "Kid's never wrestled before. It ain't gonna fucking happen." Yeah, Nick, you make it to the state tournament. And we're 3A, which is the
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
schools. Cal State, Earl Hall, all those schools. So I'm like, yeah, no problem, Nick. You get a tattoo. I'll
Oh
take it.
yeah.
Not a problem. He qualifies, gets through the district, goes to region. Now you got to place top 4 at region to go to the state tournament. He loses his
Oh,
first
he came
match, gets pinned,
back.
right?
Ooh.
Gets pinned 5 in a row,
Wow. Good
dude.
for
This
him.
kid, oh yeah, man. He goes, "Hey, we're getting one, right?" I'm like, "Fuck." I go, "Yeah, you got to." So he had the tattoo the next year, and kids were looking at him. And anyways, so I raised 3 kids. I know what I'm talking about for the most part, and I get a lot of these dads and even some moms, asking me about, "Hey, Ricky, we watched you and you were so good with your boys." But what they don't realize is they didn't see me in the earlier years when I was that fucking asshole father that everything was winning and I can't believe you lost that.
You
What are you,
learn
a
a lot.
pussy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. I was that dad, and I'm not proud of it. And I'm actually, I hate to even admit it, but I have to for the sake of the story, but also, to show the growth in me through that.
I tweeted that
You know,
today about something.
did you really?
I
I
said,
swear to God, I didn't
there
see
was
it.
this MMA account that was keeping receipts on like, past fighters and like them saying messed up things years ago. And Michael
Yeah,
Chandler came out and he said something like really like a very good, virtuous interview. And someone tweeted like 5 years ago, you didn't think this. I have the videos to prove it. And it's like, why are you keeping receipts on people instead of championing growth?
yeah,
What would you rather
yeah.
him do? Continue to be a piece of shit
Right,
or
right.
be a better person? It's like people are
Exactly.
scared and are going to be stubborn to change their views unless we say, "Hey, good job doing it." Let's affirm, "Hey,
Yeah.
not, like
Yep.
as a coach, I'm going to look at the kid who did, the same move for 20 years and all of a sudden he tries something new and I'm going to say, "Good job trying something new." I'm not going to say, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you always do that." I'm not going to make fun of him for not doing what he's one-dimensional at. I'm going to say, "Good
Yep.
job." I think as a
Exactly.
dad, as a coach, I'm not a dad, so I can't speak on that. But as a coach, especially as a wrestling dad, just how I've seen other dads act, it's really good to affirm to people, "Good job," when you see
Yeah.
them trying something new. And I think that really allows a kid to say, "Oh, I'm getting complimented," and it shouldn't be like he shouldn't get complimented for doing what he's supposed to do. Yes, he should, because it's really freaking
Yeah.
hard, and wrestling's really hard.
Exactly.
So you should say, "Good job."
Correct.
And if someone does the
Yep.
bare minimum and they do something and they have a habit of not doing, say good job. It takes 2 seconds. It's not soft. I promise you. I
Exactly.
jump off buildings. It's not soft.
Right. Exactly. Do you know Zach Sherman,
That's
University
my
of North
fucking
Carolina?
guy.
Okay, so he's best friends with my youngest son, Bryce. They're like brothers. They live
Yeah.
together right now. So Zach's dad, who passed away a couple of
Yeah,
years
I
ago,
remember.
one of my
Yeah.
best friends, love Gary. He's like a mentor to me. A
Zach
little bit
AA,
older
right?
than
He
me,
was
but
AA twice.
twice.
He was good.
Yeah. Well, the one year that they were
COVID year, and
named,
then yeah, then the other. Hey,
and then
COVID years
yeah,
and AA, man. I mean, what you did
yep,
what you could. You did what you
100%.
could.
Yep. Exactly. So I'll never forget the story with Zach's dad. So we're at a tournament. I think it was like a USA Youth State
Yeah.
Championships, and Bryce just wrestled shitty. And it was back when I was a dick, and I was like, "Oh my god, you fucking pussy!" But whatever. He heard me, right? So he pulls me over to the side. He's like, "Ricky, what are you fucking
His
doing?"
dad said this.
I
That's
go, "What do
good.
you
He
mean?"
checked you a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
Gary got in my ass. He's like, "What are you doing?" I go, "What do you mean, Gary?" I go, "He just wrestled like shit." He goes, "So what?" And he was
Yeah.
pissed, dude. Gary was pissed. And Gary didn't get like that. So it like really got my attention. He sat me down for like an hour and he told me, he goes, "Listen, that little boy idolizes you. He goes out there to make
Right.
you proud. And when he hears you say shit like that, or even if he doesn't, it's just the facial expressions. Trust me, he knows what you're thinking. So whether you say it or you don't, you're breaking that kid down. You're taking the fun out of it. He's going to hate it. And I'm telling you, it's counterproductive, Ricky. You need to fucking
Right.
change." Bro, it hit me in the face like a ton of bricks. And I swear on my kids from that day, never, ever again. You can ask them all, whether they win, lose, whatever, wrestle like shit, wrestle great, a hug and a kiss. I'm happy. I love you. Great. It sucks the life out of these kids. It
It
takes
does.
the
It makes
fun
wrestling
out
not fun.
of
But
it.
that's a really good point. That's big of you to be able to recognize that. There's three things that
Yeah.
really like stand out when I'm thinking about this kind of subject, and I'm really passionate about this. The first one is a lot of dads that even had like a little bit of success. Maybe they won states, maybe they were a state qualifier, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, even coaches, we say, "This is how I did it. This is not how it must be done. My dad beat the shit out of me, so that's how." And we think, hey, blueprints. We've always heard those quotes about blueprints. You'll follow someone's footsteps. That's not how I think wrestling should be. Instead of "this is how I did it, so this is the only way to be successful," it should be "this is how I did it. Let's figure out what works for you." We are all different,
Mhm.
so let's figure it out, right? That's number
Right.
one. Number two, my dad is a customer service speaker, and he speaks a lot
Mhm.
with different companies and working with different brands, and he's a coach in and of itself, right? And he has this phrase that I really like called "empathize then educate." And let's
Mhm.
pretend you get pulled over by a cop, right? And a cop walks up to your window and he immediately is kind of like, just traditional, stereotypical dickhead cop. You know how fast you were going? It was kind of like a dick right
Mhm.
away. Our innate reaction, even though we're in the wrong, we were speeding. Our innate
Mhm.
reaction is to be a little combative. Like I didn't even look at that, and you almost argue a little bit. And then when he gives you a
Mhm.
ticket, what do you say to the person next to you? "Fucking asshole," right? And you're like, what if he empathized with you first, and he came up to you and said, "Hey, dude, I get it. It's late at night. You're trying to go home to your wife. You can't go 45, Ricky, in a school zone, all right?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, if he empathized
Right.
with you first and then educated you, you're a lot more receptive to saying, "Yeah, you know what? I probably shouldn't have been speaking," right? So when it comes to
Mhm.
kids, if I'm able to, and some kids, there is a time to get on them. I'm not saying there isn't, right? You don't have to be
Right.
Mr. I hate the word soft. I think wrestling dads overuse it. I think, you know, I'm a little bit against the grain on calling the young kids soft and don't want to work and all that stuff. I think if we keep saying that, they're gonna think it. So let's stop fucking saying
Mhm.
that. Let's stop calling everybody soft and don't want to work.
Right.
Let's tell them they're badasses and make them live up to their reputation. You know what I mean? Anyways,
Right.
back to what I was saying. I think if we empathize a little bit, like, "Hey, dude, you're in that position in a match. It's freaking hard. There's a lot of people here. I bet you it's stressful, but you got to be willing to fight
Mhm.
through things." And then you teach them, and then you teach them.
Right.
They're a little bit more receptive, right? And then last but not least,
Absolutely.
my favorite thing, which I think is the most important thing for athletes and coaches, just going off what you said. We had this thing at Ohio State. Tom Ryan used to talk about BCD. Tom Ryan's the head coach of Ohio State, obviously.
Mm.
BCD stands for blame, complain, and deflect, right? So when Mr. Sherman came over to you and he gave you a little, flack, you could have took into consideration, like you did, right? Maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. Let me think about it. Or most people BCD. So, for example, let's pretend you show up late to practice, and I'm your coach, and I say, Ricky, what the fuck were you late? Blame would be, I didn't even drive today, coach. It wasn't me that drove. You're blaming somebody else. I don't care. You were what? You were late. Complaint would be, oh, I'm sorry I was late. It's our sixth practice at 6 a.m. this week, though. What do you expect? I don't care. You were
Right.
late. And last but not least, there's
Exactly.
deflect, right? Deflecting is my least favorite one. Have you ever heard of the term whataboutism? So it's like a
Yeah.
political term. So for
Yeah.
those who don't know, I'm not getting political, but it's just for an example. Let's pretend you're the biggest Trump fan, and I didn't vote, but let's pretend I'm the biggest Biden fan just for demonstration
Mhm.
purposes, right? A
Right.
whataboutism works like this. If I were to say, I don't like that Trump does blank, 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 it's really easy for someone to go, well, what about when, and they flip it back to you. That happens in
Right.
wrestling. That happens in wrestling.
Yeah.
If I say, hey, Ricky, you were late. What about when Tommy was late last week? I
Yeah.
don't care, you were
hmm
late. So my
hmm
biggest thing when it comes to coaching is empathizing, but then educating, and then looking for these BCDs. Are kids able to be receptive to a little bit of consideration, or are they putting up these walls that I have to coach around, and I have to work with them on that as well? And I think it's a fun puzzle to solve, So I mean, I know you're just
Yeah.
telling a story about Mr. Sherman, but good job not BCDing.
I know, and it's tough, man. It's tough because you have to look at that man in the mirror, man.
Well, it's hard,
The
man.
man in the
A lot of times we
it
got blind
really
spots. I'm sure I got a bunch. That's why they're called blind spots.
and yeah, and who wants to admit that they're
Right.
wrong or they're not
Especially when
doing
so
things the
many
way it
good
should be?
qualities come from being stubborn in wrestling, it's hard to turn that
Yeah,
stubborn switch off sometimes.
exactly. And the thing that really got to me, that hurt me, was my dad was that
Yeah,
abusive
yeah.
father when it came to the wrestling and other things. That's a whole nother podcast. But so I swore if my kids ever wrestle, I would never be like that. And
Isn't that
damn it,
funny how that
I
works?
like
It's
crazy.
like my mom died when I was 16, right? I lost my mom.
I'm sorry.
And no, you're gonna be sorry, but talking about her keeps her alive. So, if there's kids listening to
Good point.
this, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to ask your friends about their dead relatives. In a
hmm
constructive way. It's better.
Well,
It's
of
better.
course.
But anyways, long story short, you know, it's so funny how you know, my mom dies. She had a little bit of alcoholism and stuff like that, which led me never to try alcohol. I'm 31. I've never had a
hmm
sip, right? But other
I
family
heard that.
members, it does the opposite. I always wonder how that, like, kids will see something, the exact same thing. And, my dad's dad left him when he was a kid, and one of his brothers was just like his dad. My dad was the exact opposite. It's like a rubber band effect. It's so weird how that works, but your kids are going to watch what we do as coaches. They
Yep.
will mirror that and either bring that to their sons or do the
hmm
complete and total opposite if it was like over the top. It's
Right.
interesting.
Right. Exactly. See, my father was more
Yeah,
physically
yeah, yeah, no, I
abusive.
know what
Like
you mean. Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was a junior in high school, so I was like 16. I beat a kid 14-2, but I didn't pit him and I
Oh
didn't tech him,
gosh.
and caught a smack in the face after the match because I let my team down because I didn't pin or tech. So to me, the verbal shit. Well, I'm not being like my dad. I never laid a hand on my kids, but it's all this. It doesn't matter. And you know what? I would rather be punched in the face a million times than some of the words that he
For
said to me.
sure.
Those hurt more a lot
You're a
of times. So,
kid.
you know,
Yeah.
exactly. And any parents that are listening to this podcast, whether it's wrestling or not, remember that shit, man. There's no reason for it. And we're kind of going off into a whole different subject,
Well, no,
but
it's an important
yeah,
subject.
man,
It's really
it's a
important.
very
Like
important
like like
subject.
you're saying, parents listening, the best advice I can give just from being a coach is let the coaches coach. Be a dad elf.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like when you're yelling at practice, let him lose at practice. It's good for him or
hmm
her. I'm a big supporter of women's wrestling too. So whoever it is out there,
Love it.
let them lose at practice not because they're not trying, but maybe they're trying new moves. Maybe they're wrestling somebody they're a little nervous for. Maybe they're going through some mental battles where they're cutting a little bit of weight, or they usually don't match up well with skin. Don't cheat them out their freaking growth. Now, there's a time to
Yeah.
get on them. I'm not saying you can't get on them once in a while, and you
Of
gotta,
course.
maybe say, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" Right? I get it, but at the
Yeah.
same time, don't cheat them out their growth. Let the coaches coach. Tom Ryan has another really good quote. He says, "The greatest plan in the world with zero trust doesn't really matter. If your coach has the greatest plan in the world, but you as a dad, you just don't trust a lot of things, and you're always in your son's ear, and it doesn't really matter. But if you have an okay plan, but you step back and you trust it 100%, you guys might get really
Hmm.
far because you trust it.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
gonna have a little bit of a process unfold. So let your coaches coach. And, it's gonna work
Yeah.
out. It's gonna be okay. I think that's really
Yeah.
important. And let the
True.
kid, let the kid fall in love with the sport, and then he'll be willing to give his life for it. But he's not gonna
Yeah.
suffer for something that he kind of resents. He's not gonna do that.
Right.
We've all been in toxic relationships. You're not going to suffer for somebody that you despise. You're going to suffer for
No.
someone that you care. That's just how it goes, right?
Right.
Like, let
Exactly.
them love the sport, then they'll suffer. But let them love it
Hmm.
first, you know?
Yep, absolutely. So I hear you've mentioned a couple of things about
He's
Ryan.
the man,
What does that
baby.
man mean? What does he mean to you?
Well, I don't
Tell
know if
me
you've seen the
what
news. He
he
actually
means.
had a bad accident on the way home from Olympic trials. He broke
No.
his femur, but
Oh
yeah, he had a
shit!
bad
I
accident.
didn't hear that. Is he all
He's
right?
okay. He's in the hospital, but femur's a real break. That's a tough one.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
uh, he is somebody who he cares about your wrestling. He cares about the
yeah.
man you are more, which is really
That's
important.
important.
Like
Yep.
when I was getting recruited, I was looking at some different schools. I really liked Maryland. Doesn't have a big history of really strong teams, but Kerry McCoy in general was just a great coach. Penn
Yeah.
State I was looking at a little bit. Iowa State I was looking at a little bit, and Ohio State. And I verbal pretty young. I was a sophomore in high school, and I wanted to go to Ohio State. And you know, maybe I was a junior. I'm trying to remember, but just how Tom was as a person. He does care about you off the mat. We still talk all the time.
Yeah.
He called me at 1 a.m. the other night. Like he's a fucking nut. He's the best. And he'd be the first one to pick. He wouldn't snitch on you for robbing a bank. He'd be the first one to pick you up and be like, "Hey, come on, man." You know what I mean? He's just a good guy.
That's the man
He's a
you
good
want.
guy.
Yeah, for
And I'm
sure.
saying rob a
And
bank and
going
good
back,
guy in the same sense, but you know what I mean? He's loyal. He's
I know,
loyal.
I know what you
He's
meant.
loyal.
So you verbaled early, but that whole recruiting class that you were in, that was a good
Yeah, yeah. So
recruiting
we
class.
had
But Hunter
we had Kenny
Beamer,
Quartz, which is an All
Katari,
American. We had Logan, obviously he won 4. A guy named Derek Garcia
yep,
was ranked like top 5 in the country. He ended up not finishing his career at Ohio State, but Campbelltano was a 4-time state champ. Josh Demas was there. Cam Tessari was an All American. Hunter Stever was an All American.
he's,
We had a lot of good guys. Something that you were talking about. I struggle with maybe with resentment a little bit on my end. You were talking about my credentials, and I was actually just talking to my girlfriend about this. I've wrestled so many guys in college. I beat 20 All Americans. I
yeah,
beat 3 NCAA champs. I beat a Hodge Trophy winner, Jason Ness from
yeah,
Minnesota,
yeah,
and I beat a
yep,
world bronze medalist. But going into the nationals every year, I was ranked like 4th, 3rd. I was as high as 2nd one time.
hmm,
I underperformed a little bit, to how I did. So sometimes when I'm doing these clinics, right, people are like, "Oh, tell us your credentials." And you got people like Jason Knopf doing clinics and Bryce Meredith doing clinics and all these
of
high
course,
credentialed individuals. It's
yeah,
hard for me a little bit because it's like my where I think I was skill set wise, I don't have the accolades to show for it, but I have the teaching to show for
yeah,
it. You know what I mean?
of course.
And I gotta be able to let that go a little bit, which is maybe I won't let it go, but that's all right too.
You know what? Let me tell you something, man. Some of the best guys that I've seen, whether it was in college or in football, or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever it is, man, didn't reach what they thought they should have reached. But that doesn't define who you
Oh
are,
no,
bro. I mean,
no,
like you
of course
said,
not.
look at all these guys that you've beaten. Listen, there's no fucking way in the world I would have wanted to strap them on against you.
I
No
wrestled
fucking.
I
First
wrestled
of all,
a couple guys I'm thinking of off the top of my head. I wrestled Kevin Nordstrom once. I
yep.
ended up beating him, but it was a close match. It was like 4-1, something like that, at Virginia Tech.
That's who beat,
Uh,
that's who beat my son in the state
Oh my
finals.
gosh, really? That's so
Yeah, he
funny.
beat
I
Dylan
know his brother
6-1 in
was
the
really
state.
good too. They're really good wakeboarders or something. They do something gnarly. But so I wrestled
Yeah.
Kevin at
Yep.
Virginia Tech. Uh, Then I wrestled Earl Hall 3 times. So this is kind of interesting. I wrestled Earl Hall at Vegas, and I was just feeling myself that day. I beat him like 15-1, right?
Wow.
Then we go and we wrestle at the U.S. Open, and it's like a back and forth match, and he mixers me and he pins me, right? So then we wrestle again the following year at Olympic
Yeah.
Trials qualifier, and he's winning 7-1 with a minute left. And I remember thinking to myself, people that are still competing, they'll resonate with this a little bit, but maybe you will too. But whenever you're winning by a lot and you're tired, a lot of people sometimes start playing the math game, and I call the math game where you go, if I get taken down and I skate, I get taken down,
Yep.
okay, I get taken down 4 times and still win.
Right.
So I thought
I'm
to
good. I'm
myself,
good.
we go out of bounds. There's like a minute left, and I remember thinking, okay, he's gonna give me an easy one because like he's up 7-1. Why would he fight it? So if I go really freaking hard for like 15 seconds, like a sprint, and I get my hands locked, he'll probably bail out to parterre. He'll probably do that.
Yeah.
And I had a really good leg lace, so I said to myself, okay, if I can get on top, I'll have a chance. So I'm like, boom, in, out, pepper, pepper, pepper. I'm starting my sprint. I get my hands locked. And fortunately, he was a little tired, right? And he kind of
Yeah.
gave me an easy
Yeah.
one. And I kind of got lucky. I wrapped up my lace and I ended up winning. But that was my last win as a competitor ever as a wrestler was Earl Hall.
Holy
Yeah. But then
shit.
my last guy, a big rival of mine in high school, I'm sorry, a big rival of mine in college, who wrestled at Michigan from Brandon, Florida. I wrestled Rossi Bruno 4 times. So
Oh wow. I
we were
didn't know
two
that.
and two against each other. So I beat him, then he beat me, then I beat him, then he beat me. So it's funny. We were 2 and 2
That's
against. He got my
crazy.
last one, but yeah, we were 2 and 2 against each other. He was a tough kid. He was All American, I think, maybe once or twice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. He and his brother wrestled at Ohio
Oh,
U.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Frankie, his little brother Frankie. He
Nice.
was like a 4-time state champ, I think,
Sick.
too. Yeah, they're a tough family, but I think they have like 9 or 10 state titles. Yeah, 9
Yeah,
state
I,
titles
I
between
coached a couple of Florida kids too. When I was coaching at Harvard, Tarantino was up there.
coach. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Leo.
he's a Florida kid, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then that
yeah.
one
He
guy,
went to Lake
Harvard
Alfred.
graduate, he's from like the Tampa area. Dustin, Denunzio. Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know if
I
you're
know.
familiar with him.
Yeah,
He's a little older than me, but I know he's a Harvard grad. I'm trying to think if anybody else was up there. I coached against Julian quite a bit, Ramirez. Bunch of Florida kids. Florida
Julian's
has good wrestling, man.
awesome. Bro.
Like people talk
Yeah,
about Illinois, Ohio, PA, Jersey. Man, fuck all of us up here. Like, yeah, we're saturated. We have a lot of depth,
right.
but
Deep.
Florida's
Yep.
got some freaking names. Florida's got wrestling,
Yes.
and not only that, they got passionate people trying to make people
Mhm.
better. Like freaking
Exactly.
what's my guy's name? Fucking down in Fort Myers there. Louis. He loves
Oh,
wrestling.
Louis
Yeah,
Robinson.
man. There's so many
Yeah.
people.
Have you been to Louis'
He's
ranch?
insane, bro. He's
Did he take you hog hunting?
I'm a softie, bro. I love animals. I don't know if I could do it. Like, hey, hunt.
No, we don't kill
Oh,
him.
you don't?
We don't kill him.
Oh, I
No,
thought you eat
no.
it. Like if
Oh,
you
you
eat them,
gotta
like I
get
get it, right? I'm not like hunting is good,
bro.
but I'm a pussy, man. I'm fucking
Dude, no, you have to go hot. So
really.
there was a time that I was at Louis Ranch every single, like literally, I'd get off work Friday, drive across like hour and a half, 2 hour drive, and I'd spend the whole weekend at
Oh,
Louis'
dude,
house.
he's the man.
We'd go hunting. Dude, it was
That's
the best.
cool.
So I remember one weekend, he goes, hey, Richie's coming. I
Oh
go,
yeah,
Richie
yeah. So I
who?
was supposed to go that weekend
He-
with Jerry. I was supposed to
Okay.
go.
So yes, with
Yeah,
Jerry, right. So we take him hog hunting, and it just was slow, man. We weren't seeing nothing. We hunt with dogs,
yeah,
right? Louis got
yeah.
a
The
whole
4 wheelers.
kennel
Yeah.
of dogs. So exactly. So we get in this patch and we set the dogs loose, and all of a sudden we hear "Woo, woo, woo, woo." I'm like, all right, he's on something. So Richie's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get one. I'm gonna get one. So Richie sends me and he goes, the dog's got him. He goes, go get him. He goes, all right, dude. Richie comes out with, now we're thinking, yeah, maybe a buck 50, big ass hog, right? Dude, it was a fucking piglet, right? It's like a 30, 40-pound piglet. And Richie was so proud, and he's probably going to beat the shit out of me for
That's
saying this.
freaking
It was
hilarious. Because
cool.
knowing Richie, he probably told me it was 500 pounds.
It was cool as shit, though, because,
Richie's the man.
anytime we get a hog, It's a good thing. So we had them all tied up, and Louis like, "Hey, you want to get a picture with him?" I'm like, "Picture with him of what? It's like it's like Porky Pig, man.
That's
He's a
awesome.
tiny thing." But anyway, it was a cool ass story. Richie's a
Oh,
good
he's the
dude,
man,
man.
dude. Yeah,
Richie's got his
Richie's the man. But yeah, back to what I was saying, just Florida wrestling, you got some people that you got a lot of momentum, I think. I think it's a good time in Florida wrestling right now.
It really is. Right now, it's at its best point that I've seen in many years. And the reason is for guys like Richie, guys like Zach Sherman. These are guys that are staying, giving back. And
who's the heavyweight from Missouri? He's my guy. I love Dante. He's great. I want to go spearfish. I know I said I'm a pussy when it comes to I like animals killing things. I do want to spearfish with Dante. He's a badass.
Dante went from Missouri. Oh,
he's a badass.
Fargo champ. Fucking Fargo national champ.
I know, he's a stud. I like Dante a lot. But the Hofstra, why am I blanking on all these names right now? I'm like tight with him. Charles, yeah, like he's a stud. I've done a lot of clinics in Florida. Actually, while I'm on that topic, Florida people, I love doing clinics. I live for them. Shoot me a message. Shoot me a message on Instagram or Twitter, Facebook. I love doing wrestling clinics. I will come down. I will do a month and go to every single school. I live for working with kids. Obviously, I do charge, but just getting in there.
As you should.
Yeah, but that's something really important. I think what Ohio does well that other states maybe don't, and I don't know how this is in Florida right now. So let me. I'm gonna say I don't know, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. Ohio puts money into wrestling. The old school wrestling mentality and the old school dad gives back, and there's nothing greater than somebody giving back with the intention it means so well. However, it's better to charge. Even if you have that love and passion you want to give back to the sport, it's better to charge because it puts money in the sport, and we need money in the sport. And it's not wrong to get paid for what you're good at. You're not getting paid. Like I charge $1,000 for the day, right? So, it's 6 hours, which ends up being a few $100 an hour. I'm not charging a few $100 an hour. I'm charging a few $100 an hour for everything I've learned in 25 years, right? Like it's different, right? So what's really important to understand is like Ohio puts money into wrestling. Pennsylvania puts money into these clubs. They're not cheap, and they shouldn't be. And it's not an FU to wrestling. It's not, hey, I'm not willing to give back to wrestling. That's actually better for the sport's health long term, because now you have coaches that are being paid now don't feel like they have to, I got to leave work early and I got to tell my boss and I got to call off this weekend. No. They're getting paid now. And now it's okay. And they're able to give more time and they're able to be there and they're able to be here like mentally, like, hey, I don't got to worry about it, skipping work and are my bills going to get met. This is part of my work now. And I think it really matters, pay your coaches, dads out there, if you're having kids in for a private, throw them some money. It's really good for the health of the sport to put money in our sport. I stand by that.
I agree with you 1,000%, man.
Run it, baby.
This episode of Grinding for Greatness is sponsored by NRG Solutions. NRG Solutions is a family-owned and Florida-operated solar and energy efficiency company proudly supporting the FloridaWrestling.com and the Grinding for Greatness podcast. Their operating owners, Jeff Messner and Logan Lightsey, are both former Winter Haven High School wrestlers. After many years of faithfully serving their community, their families decided to step outside the box and create a company geared solely towards energy efficiency. NRG Solutions helps their homeowners gain energy efficiency through several different solutions: solar, roofing, heating and AC units, HVAC, and home generators. Making the switch to an energy-efficient home might seem easy, but finding lasting companies with your best interest in mind, not so easy. Now, their families are here to stay, and they're very committed to providing you with the best energy-efficient products and ongoing customer service you can count on. NRG Solutions has open sales positions available and would invite all former wrestlers to apply for these positions. Their company strives to embody the discipline, drive, and community the wrestling world built within them. It's a way of life at NRG Solutions. So go to www.nrgsolutions.life for more information or contact Jeff Messner at 863-287-6903. NRG Solutions, it's a way of life. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to grind for greatness. Enjoy the show. And Florida, let me tell you something about Florida. Like you were saying earlier, we got some good stuff going on right now. And I mentioned it's because of the guys that we have. You know, we got Steve Mocco. We got, you know, whose kids both
Yep,
won
I
state
watched.
titles last. Oh, it was awesome, man. Did you
I
see the
saw
little
Sally. That
celebration
was so
after?
cool. The dance.
Funny,
That was
bro.
cool.
Funny.
That's something too.
Peter,
Like I
that's the
love
young one
personality in
too.
wrestling. You know, like I I
Gotta
I
have.
dislike AJ Ferrari. I see the necessity of having heels. You know what I mean? Stuff like I
Yes.
don't like what Carter
Yes.
Starachi said, but I like that people
Right.
are talking about it. Right? Like I understand
Right.
it.
Right. I don't think it's bad what he's doing. And I think he did it, you know, in a tasteful
Yeah.
way. He wasn't like a Ferrari who's just kind of a
Right. No,
dick, and I'll say
100%.
it.
I'm with you on
I don't
that.
really give a shit what
That's
he thinks.
distasteful.
But I think it's good for the
Yes.
sport, actually.
Well, then, like,
I don't
you
have
know,
a
I talk
problem.
about these archaic things in wrestling, right? And I'm very big on. Everybody uses the term "grow the sport," but nobody really like talks about like things that do hold us back. And a few things that hold us back. One of the terms is act like you've been there before. I think if I'm going to tell my son, "Hey, don't be a punk, don't flip the crowd off," of course, I don't want him to be a punk. I don't want him to flip the crowd off,
Right.
right? However, when we constantly tell people to act like robots and act like you've been there before, wrestling. I'm going to go back to what I've been saying the whole time is really fucking hard. So if a kid wants to
Yeah.
flex and show some emotion, let them.
Hmm.
It's not the end of the
Yes.
world. It doesn't make them a
Right.
punk, right? And all these other sports, like I'm basketball's cool. I don't care that I wrestle. Basketball's cool, right? And when you see LeBron doing this and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, they're doing all this cool stuff. It's like, yeah. And guess what? It sells the sport, right? Like we want to
Hmm.
get mad that Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift are dated. Da, da, da. Guess what? Sports are just Kardashians for men. We want to be entertained.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
fans. We want to be entertained.
Right.
Wrestling is not
And
fan
drama
friendly.
sells.
Wrestling's not fan friendly.
Drama sells.
Like it's fan friendly for us because we know the
Right.
storylines and we're
Of course.
invested. But if you are
Right.
just a casual person who, you know, I like jujitsu, I watch some MMA. Hey, let me watch this wrestling thing for a second. There's no storylines. There's no drama.
Right.
Give me a little bit. I wanted to watch
Hmm.
Rocco and Starochi because Starochi tweeted something distasteful. It's like, ooh, let me see
Right.
this now. I hate that guy.
Right.
Let's see it. Like that's good for wrestling, you know?
Yeah.
So am I going to
Agree.
tell my son to tweet something messed up? Probably not, right? But I still
Right.
understand why a Colby Covington esque person can be good for sports. I get it. I don't want my
Right.
son to be Colby, but I get it, you
Right.
know?
Right. Right. And going back to the whole flexing thing and celebrating, I got no problem with that. Listen, if a kid busts his ass for
Show
whatever, how
some
many years he
freaking
wrestled,
passion,
and he
baby.
wants to, right, if he wants to throw a flex up, dude, he's celebrating his victory. He's not celebrating the loss of the kid.
Party on the
Let
guy.
him do what he's
Yeah.
got. Exactly. Let him do what he's got to do, man. So
And
I agree
I'm
with you
really
1,000%
close
on
friends
that.
with Jake Paul. We do a lot of stuff together.
Yeah.
So Jake
Yeah.
wrestled.
I was going to ask you
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that. How'd that
So
come
I was
about?
wrestling at Ohio State. He was wrestling in high school in Ohio. He came down to a camp at Ohio State. Then he blew up on Vine after the fact, and we stayed close, right?
Yeah.
So, I go to Puerto Rico a lot. We hang out a lot, and I do my own content stuff. I create, content and do a lot of adventurous
Yep.
stuff and base jumping and skydiving. And I've been to, like 50 something countries, and I try to vlog those things, try to live an unconventional
Crazy.
lifestyle, right? Long story
Yep.
short, this circulates back to wrestling because Jake has really good content advice, right? And as a
Mhm.
lot of people listening, they're probably having an opinion about Jake as I talk. That is what he tells me. He says, Johnny,
It's a good
make
thing.
them have an opinion of you, right? Like
Bingo.
so, he'll do stuff like he's really smart. He'll pronounce something wrong, or he'll spell something wrong. Because what's human nature? To comment and
Correct.
correct you.
Hmm.
It's not human
Of
nature to
course.
say, "Hey, that's a cool video." Nobody compliments
Right.
online. We're
Right.
pieces of shit. What do? We say, "You're wrong." We correct each other.
Hmm.
That's what
Right.
engages the viewer. So unfortunately, I don't want it to be the WWE, right? I understand I don't want that. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, there needs to be a couple people that people don't like. It's good for wrestling. And it's okay to have
Yeah.
them. And you know what? Make them have an opinion of you. If you're a wrestler listening to this, make people have an opinion of you. Whether it's good or bad or this or that, make them have an opinion of you. It's healthy for the sport.
Give me an example of a high school kid making somebody have an opinion of them.
So do you have to be a punk? Absolutely not. But Suriano, was a great example because what would he do? He was intense, and you knew he was going to
Hmm.
stare you down and be this close to your face, right? He
Yeah.
was going to be like making people say weird. Is he on the spectrum? What is going on with this guy? What's going right? He's going to make people say that. He makes people have an opinion of him, right? And,
Yeah.
and, and it translates to I want to see this guy wrestle. I want to see someone
Yeah.
beat him. I want to see. Oh, he's
Right.
cocky. He's not cocky. He's humble. If you make people have an opinion of you, usually you got some eyes on you. And it's in a sport where it's hard to be creative, I like when people have a little bit of creativity. Bryce Meredith,
Yeah.
I kind of think he started the leg sleeve. Everybody was wearing a leg sleeve in the 2010s, and and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh, and at first he got a lot of flack for that, like, oh, you pretty boy, oh, you this, oh, you this.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, people are talking about you though. So what? You
Right.
know.
Hundred
So
percent
I think it's cool. If kids,
point.
but whatever it is, like if your son wants to dye his hair for the state tournament, freaking dye your hair for the state tournament. It's whatever. Like it's a hard sport to not be creative in. And wrestling in and of itself, though, it's a martial art, right? It
Yeah.
is a
For
creative
sure.
outlet. And so there's
Hmm.
there's people that love to tie up. There's people that shoot from the open. There's defensive wrestlers. There's short offensive wrestlers. There's mat wrestlers who are really good on the mat. There's people who are really slick and hit duckers. There's people who are hand fighters and are really bully type. Dardanes, Tomasello. I'm gonna be in your face. So there's so many different styles of wrestling. So allow those personalities to also be out there. I'm a big
Yeah.
I cheerlead, being different. Because I had an unconventional lifestyle, or I'm sorry, unconventional wrestling style. I had an unconventional wrestling
Yeah.
style. So, I'm with people trying to, be out the box a little bit, be outside of the box.
Yeah. I love
Hit
those people,
headlocks,
and I
baby.
find
Hit
myself.
Petersons, hit
Yeah.
inside trips. Do it. That won't work against somebody
Exactly.
good. Yeah, well, if you're good at it.
Right. Exactly. Let's see what happens.
That's my favorite
And
phrase in
then that
wrestling. Let's see what happens. Let's see
yeah,
what
and
happens,
that goes
baby.
back to the whole who's got the balls to try
Yeah.
something. It's easy for you to get up 4-0 and
Play league
back up or
management.
run away.
Well, that's what you said. I
Yeah,
like
man.
that. Like, yeah, dads out here. I like talking to dads. When I do these clinics, yes, I want kids to learn, but a big part of it is, you know, I want to try to give dads and coaches a little bit of an ulterior view on some things, right? Um, our identity is not our accolades. You told me that 15 minutes ago. Your identity is not your accolades,
Ah,
right? So let's open that up a little bit and talk about it. When it comes to what actually is your identity, in my opinion, it's the choices leading up to your accolade. For example,
mhm.
me and Nathan Tomasello were drill partners. Now, if I'm feeling really good at practice and I'm, not down on weight and I'm feeling strong, I might get him that day. If he's feeling really good and I'm not feeling as good, he might get me that day, right? Just back and forth. We wrestle each other a lot, right? If I won, it was really easy for me to take practice home with me and feel good about myself. But where does
Yeah.
practice stay? Practice stays at practice. If I lost, it was really easy for me to take practice home. Man,
Oh yeah.
fuck, am I getting
Right.
worse? He beat me 3 days in a row now. And it was easy for me to take practice home with me, right? But like I
Right.
said, practice stays at practice. So what does go home with me? Here's an example. If if I am if I wrestle Nate for 3 minutes and the first 15 seconds I shoot off the whistle and I score, and then for the next 2.5 minutes, I thumb block, I back up, I fix my sock, I lose a contact, I go, hold on 1 second, right? And I win 2-1. The win doesn't go home with me. I am somebody who does not get tough when I'm tired. I am not a risk taker. Those things become a
Wow.
part of my identity and a part of my personality. Now let's flip it,
Wow.
right? Let's pretend I shoot 300 times and I just happen to come
Yeah.
up short. But when the voice started talking and I'm really tired and they're saying, dude, back up, you're tired. Don't, I choose to shoot again. I bite down on my freaking mouthpiece and I go hard one more time. I do one more sprint or whatever it is. The loss doesn't go home with me. The loss stays at practice. What does go home with me though? I'm a tough motherfucker. That will translate
Yeah.
into other areas of my life. And every single day I come back to practice, guess what? It resets. I get to script my personality all over again. Right? So I
Wow.
really hope dads out there, if they see their kid win or lose at practice, I don't want their highs in the car on the drive home to be like, dude, you freaking won today. You were freaking sick. He was a state champ. You were beating his
Yeah.
ass. And then the lows to be like, you fucking kidding me? You always beat him. What the fuck was up today?
Right.
Right? Let's keep it
Right.
here. Let's keep it here and let's talk about the non-superficial things that we can talk about. Like, hey, dude, when you guys were really tired and you went with the state champ, you didn't avoid a tough wrestler on the next partner. You went straight to another state champ. Hey, that's hard to do. Good job. Right. And then you can also have some criticism. You could say some things he
Right.
needs to work on or she needs to work on. But what you don't got to do is have these super high highs and super low lows, only accolade and result based at practice.
Right.
Let's make
Right.
sure we're talking about the things that matter, the controllables. Let's talk about the controllables as we leave practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn, that's an unbelievable way to explain it, man. Thank you
Yeah,
for
so I'm
telling me that. Because
filibustering a little bit, but I get really fired up about this shit. Let's go,
yeah,
baby.
man, I love the fucking passion. I'm just like that, man. I get
I know
crazy,
you're a
man.
good podcast
That,
host, man. I've done a lot of podcasts with wrestling people, and sometimes, obviously it's supposed to be back and forth, right? It's good, but for I'm a content guy, right? So I think of these things while I'm doing them.
yeah.
We need clip outs, and sometimes if we're cutting each other off too much, you almost ruin the minute Instagram video that you could have just had. You know what I mean? So let me talk. I do appreciate it. I know I don't shut up sometimes, but I appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
No, you're being brought on. We want to hear from you, not me, man. I'm just a fucking podcast guy. You're the man,
Thanks.
bro. So no, I can't thank you enough. Talk to me about what you just said. Kind of reminded me about. Let me try to think because I heard you tell the story before. Protect nothing. Tell us about
So
protect
okay,
nothing,
yeah, I'll
Kyle.
need
So
a debate jumping a little bit. So Snyder has a little mantra. He would always say protect nothing, right? And a lot of times we as
I
as
love
as athletes we think there's a lot of these corny phrases, these Vince Lombardi quotes. I like Vince Lombardi. I'm not trying to talk shit, but uh,
fuck the
we
Packers.
yeah, we got a lot of these old school quotes like, "Hey, winners win. Winners find a
Right.
way. Winners want it
Yeah.
more." You know how many times I've lost a match where I really wanted to fucking win? I promise you, he didn't
Yep.
want it more than me. He beat me because he was
Right.
just better at wrestling that day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that day. He was better at wrestling that day,
Exactly.
right? But
Yep.
long story short, another win is I'm sorry, another phrase that a lot of people say is, "Hey, you got to dig deep." And there is a time where kids break. I get it, but instead of
Yeah.
digging deep, that takes a lot of energy to will something in the middle of chaos. So what if instead of having to like find it, we made it a muscle memory? For example, Kyle Snyder at practice would get really tired, and then he would say to himself, protect nothing. And then he would choose to shoot right afterwards. And he would shoot and dive in, right? Or he would take a step forward, or he would attack, or he would do something, right? Something aggressive. So he would continue to do this over and over again, protect nothing, protect nothing, protect nothing. All of a sudden, he gets into a real match. And he's done this 1,000 times now. Now he's in the third period. It's a dogfight. It's 3-2. It's 4-3. And all the voices are talking. He's in the ugly place. His voices are saying, dude, back up. You're tired. Stall. Hang on. And him and his coach have talked about this. And his coach yells from the corner, protect nothing. And he doesn't want to shoot. He doesn't want to attack. But muscle memory takes over and he only knows to do one thing after he hears those words, right? You're a little animalistic in there. It is a dog or a horse at that point, and we go forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a really creative way to make that process a little bit easier. So I did that in base jumping. So, for those who don't know, base is an acronym. It stands for building antenna span and earth. Span is bridges, earth is cliffs, and it's basically parachuting off one of these four fixed objects. So you start by skydiving out of a plane. Hundreds of jumps later, you start base jumping. Not everybody does. I think there's only a few hundred active base jumpers in the world. It's not a smart
Yeah.
thing, right? I've jumped actually a lot in Florida. I did a fucking did we climb? We were at this golf course in like
Where we have no mountains, bro. It
I'm
had to
telling
be
you,
off
yeah.
a
So
building.
we climbed this fucking antenna in Homestead. I gotta say allegedly because I don't want to incriminate myself. Because I think it's
Right,
like a
right.
freaking felony down there. Like you guys are gnarly. If they catch
What's the
you,
statute of limitations
it was
on
on
that
this
shit?
freaking golf course. We parked at this casino, and it was at this golf course in like Homestead, and there's like 2,000-foot antenna out there. And yeah, I got one out there. I did one in a few in downtown Miami because there's a lot of buildings under construction, so it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
But long story short, nobody wants to jump off a fucking building or a cliff, right? When you're up there, we've all been guilty of people have probably cliff jumped or gone off a high dive, so that's more relatable. So I'll use that as an example. You cliff jump into water, before you do it, you're like, oh, dude, you go first. Oh, I don't know if I want to. Oh, you want, and you stall because you don't want to go, right? Everybody's
Right.
scared. So a lot of people do this. They go 3, 2, wait. You go first. Ah, and you get nervous. So I stood on a curb, right? And I had my fake little parachute in my hand. And I jumped off the curb and I said, 3, 2, 1, see ya, stepped off. 3, 2, 1, see ya, stepped off. 3, 2, 1, see ya, stepped off. 1,000 times. Now all of a sudden I'm on a bridge, I'm on a cliff, I'm on a building, whatever it is. I'm on an antenna in Homestead, Florida, allegedly. And I say 3, 2, 1, see ya. I don't want to go forward. But my muscle memory, my body only knows how to do one thing after I say that, and it's go forward. So you kind of trick your brain into like overriding that nerves a little bit, which is really cool, and that kind of like leads me to this too, like thinking about. I'm sorry, I get so fired by this.
I love it. Keep
Thinking
talking.
about confidence. I'm gonna steal this because I actually want to post this. Do you post the videos as well? Okay, great, because I want to steal this.
Yeah.
So when it comes to confidence, a lot of people think confidence comes before acting. For example, if I'm learning a new move, I'll throw legs in when I'm confident. I'm going to throw legs in when I'm confident. I'm going to do it one day when I feel confident enough. Or I'm going to shoot this shot when I'm confident enough. So let's go back to cliff diving for a second. A lot of people think the longer they wait on the top of the cliff, they'll magically get met with confidence. Oh, I can jump into the water now. I'm confident. But length of waiting and patience doesn't make you more confident. So you stalling and tying your shoe and telling your buddy to go first, you won't just magically get confidence after that. What do you have to do? You have to jump in total insecurity. And then when you hit the water, the first thing you say is, that was sick. I want to do it again. So confidence is the reward that we get from trying. Confidence is
Yeah.
the reward you get from acting. It doesn't come before acting. It comes after you try it. Yes, you can develop confidence in preparation. I understand that. That's a different topic. But I'm talking about actually executing, right? You will always have insecurities until you try. And if you want to combat those insecurities, it's not waiting. It's not being patient. If you want to combat those insecurities, it's fucking jump. That will get you that the reward of jumping is confidence. So fucking send it. And I think that's really important.
Dude, I can't believe you just said this because number one, I relate to that more than I can even express. And here's why. So my wife, Lori, is an adrenaline fucking junkie,
baby.
dude. So we've only been married
Has she ever
not even
skydived?
3 years. Listen, so we've not even been married 3 years. So about a year and a half ago, she goes, hey, I want to take you skydiving. Now she knows I'm deathly afraid of heights, like real bad, bro. Like I start getting anxiety and shit, like fucking bad. So I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm not going. I'll watch you. I'll watch you, but I'm not doing it. She goes, no, you got to do it. It's fun. You're going to be tandem with another guy. They've been doing million jump, blah, 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 whatever. We go out to Miami. I forgot what it was called.
Sebastian, were you Sebastian?
No, it was in Miami. She went out of she dove out of Sebastian, but this one was in Miami. I think it's called Miami Skydive.
There's a Spaceland in Miami. Skydive Spaceland.
It might be. It was one of them in Miami. So I agree, right? She goes, all right, trust me, you're gonna be fine. So I'm strapped up. They gave me my little thing. Don't do this, don't do this. We're gonna, I'm gonna push, we're gonna edge out and we're just gonna fall, blah, blah, whatever. I'm shitting in my pants, bro. I'm the last one in the plane. So we're all sitting
there.
Seeing
your people go out to like, boom, boom, they're getting sucked out. It's scary.
Bro, I'm the last one out. I'm the last motherfucker out. I'm like, I should have just been first. So I'm watching all these people. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And as each person goes, he's edging me up, edging me up, edging me up, edging me up. We're next. He goes, just look up and we're going to go. I'm going to 3, 2, 1. I go, so I look up and he doesn't count. He just fucking goes, right? And we start falling, man. And like the first 5 seconds, I'm like all fucking asses fucking sucking buttermilk and shit. And then this peaceful calmness.
It's very blissful.
Hits me. Yeah. Bro. And I'm enjoying it. Now I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, amazing. And he's talking to me and I'm talking to him. And it was just fucking awesome.
It's very like, this is cliche, but Will Smith had an interview about it. And he said, the point of most danger is actually like the most calm you'll be, which is, it's interesting. Like you're most nervous before the wrestling match. You're most
Yeah.
nervous before the skydive, but during the
Right.
wrestling match and during the skydive, that's the slow motion moment where it's a little bit more bliss.
So
It's
true.
funny how it works like that.
So true. So now, so when we landed, dude, just like you said, I was like, I gotta fucking do it again. I
Now
gotta
you're
do it
ready.
again. So, yeah,
That's
man.
cool.
So she was right, and she's done over 100 fucking jumps, man. I don't know why she doesn't do it by herself,
Oh
but
wow.
it was the most incredible thing ever, man. So I can understand your love of base jumping and all that, but how did you go from now? Did you start?
Yeah, you
I guess
have
you
to.
would have
So,
had to start.
I'll just give you a rundown on that. So,
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
my mom when I was 16. She was wild, right? Bright in the room. My dad is very, he's like the opposite of me. So, people that don't know, my lifestyle is a little, chaotic sometimes. I've been in, what are we, 4 months into the year? So about 120 days. I've probably been in
yeah.
my apartment 20 of those days. I was in Brazil for a few weeks. I was in Costa Rica with Jake. So I've never drank, I've never smoked, but I actually did an ayahuasca retreat with Jake in Costa Rica.
What is Iowa? What is that?
It's a root. It's a hallucinogen. But it's
Oh
like
shit!
it's like therapeutic. It's very cool. Like,
You
yeah,
drink
you
it,
drink
smoke
it.
it. What
No,
do
no,
you
I
do with
wouldn't
it?
smoke anything. I
Okay.
don't ever want to smoke anything, but you drink it, but it's intense. Like if you have some
Okay.
childhood trauma, like put it this way, I heard stories about like this dude that got like messed with by his babysitter as a kid, and he
Yeah.
suppressed it and didn't remember it till he drank it. And it was like, I'm thinking like I don't even know if I
No
want to know if
shit,
that happened to me.
bro. That's
So
crazy.
I was
Crazy.
in, I was in Costa Rica for a little bit. I was in Brazil for a little bit. Me and my girlfriend just got back from St. Lucia. We were down in this island in the Caribbean for a little bit. I like to travel a lot. I do clinics, and my mantra, no tomorrow, right? Live no tomorrow.
Yep.
It doesn't mean go jump off a building. You want to die. That's not what it means. It means do cool shit that makes you feel present. When you skydive, I bet
Yeah.
you felt very present. The house could be
Oh
on
my
fire,
god.
but you're right
Like
here. You're hyper present.
I was so in
Right.
the
So
moment.
for wrestling, that was it for me. Wrestling was very present based. I was able to, even at practice, it's very hard to be anywhere else because your mind has to think so fast to problem solve. And these adventures, these base jumping and all this different stuff, it does that for me. These experiences really allow me to be hyper present, and I really value those things. And so I started off with skydiving. Skydiving led to base jumping, right? And my dad, I was saying, is the opposite of me. He's a business guy. He's about his money. His favorite place to be is his back porch, right? He loves being
Yeah.
outside and on his porch, watching the Cleveland Guardians play. He's a big baseball fan, and I'm like, hey, I'm on Mount Everest right now. Like, what do you think? I'm the exact opposite, right? So my mom was kind of like that. She was very, bright personality, running
Mhm.
around the map. She skydived before. She only did tandem, but she skydived before she would do anything, right? So I started by skydiving. That led to base jumping. Base jumping led to kind of traveling the world, doing a bunch of stuff. Like I said, I've been over to probably 50 countries at this point. Just jumping, getting after it, trying to seek these present moments, and try to. It's an attempt to see the world a little bit more unique. So instead of just going to a resort and everybody speaks English and all the food is Americanized, it's
Right.
you're in fucking the Philippines and nobody speaks English and you're a little bit scared. I'm like, is this a sketchy place? I don't know. And you're just living. And I like that, that off the grid lifestyle a little bit. It's fun. I like being in Miami and luxurying it up too. It's fun.
Yeah.
But that real
Yeah.
travel, it's a good time for me. So I do clinics. I spend all my money on seeing the world. That's what I try to do.
Dude, I'm jealous, man. I swear to God, I wish I could live that kind of lifestyle.
You're
And you
getting
know what? I
after it,
probably
baby.
could have,
Skydive with your chick.
but yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, your whole philosophy is, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna live in the present. I'm gonna live what I do. And I believe one thing I heard you say, enjoy the passage of
Enjoy the
time.
passage of
Enjoy
time.
the passage of time.
Like
Talk to me
one more.
about
I
that.
mean,
Tell
so
the
it's
listeners what that
actually,
means.
I think it was a song from like the 70s or 80s. Maybe one of the listeners will remember which song it was, but it might have been like Eric Carmen or someone. The song
Love
said
Erica.
like enjoy, maybe not Eric Carmen, I'm sorry, but enjoy the passage of time. So
Still
when
love
I
him.
think of that, I think of, okay, does that mean pleasure seek? No, because pleasure seeking can be party, drugs, bunch of chicks. Like, that's not what that means.
Yep.
Enjoying the
Right.
passage of time could be disciplined. Hey, you need to lock in right now. But do I want to just wake up, go to my dead end job that I hate, you know, talk about the old ball and chain. I hate my wife. Like, no, I want to fucking love my wife. I don't want to talk about her
Mm-hmm.
like she's holding me back. You know, and like I don't want to go through life on autopilot. It's just a big fear of mine. And if there's people listening that feel like they're like that, this is not an attack on you. This hopefully is me saying, hey, fucking go do something that you're passionate about right now. If you want to open a yoga studio and you've been contemplating doing it for 10 years, go fucking do it. If you want to go start painting, if you want to go be a rapper, if you want to go do it, go fucking do it. You know what I mean? Like, I like, we're here, we have air in our lungs, and the fucking, what did the Constitution say? Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Go pursue that shit. Go pursue that shit. So for me, what else is there except trying to enjoy the passage of time? I want to enjoy that with people I love. I want to enjoy that with things that I'm passionate about, and I'm willing to suffer and be disciplined for those things that I truly enjoy. That's kind of how I view it.
Yep. That's awesome, man. And let me tell you something. The way that you live your life, you know, everyone tells us how we're supposed to.
See,
you know,
you're not talking about language, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, you're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to get degree.
And you're supposed to go in order. You're supposed to go in order.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah. Why? Who
dude,
says?
I'm at the point where like I'm gonna get married to my girlfriend just because I do believe in marriage, but I question everything. I'm like, why? Like, what? The government just needs to say, hey, you're a relationship. We identify you as a relationship.
Right.
It's like, why is it an engagement ring? Why can't it be an engagement horse? Who came up with the fucking ring thing? I want to get her a horse for her engagement. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and again, I'm just being funny right now. I believe in marriage. I'm not being an asshole. But
of
like,
course.
I question everything. Like, there's so many made up rules that we have to have. Like, hey, you better, before you're married, before you're 30, you better be married and you better own a home and you better have your 401k set up. And it's like, hey, what if I want to have my 401k set up when I'm 21 and then I want to move in with my girlfriend and then I want to get her pregnant and then I want to get married? What if I do it in that order? Who fucking cares? I'm living life, baby.
Exactly.
Dude, listen. I'm getting all over that. I'm putting the sociology hat on right now and I'm running right now.
No, it's the truth, man. I agree with it 1,000%. Listen, when my first wife was pregnant with Nick, we weren't even married. We got married when she was 3 months pregnant. Nick was in her belly, man.
But I guarantee you didn't love her anymore when you got married. You probably loved her the same. Like, it's just
exactly.
But we do as a society, we like associate these things. We're like, oh, you didn't get your wife that big of a ring? Yeah, I got my wife a bigger ring. Therefore, I love her more. Fuck you. No, you don't. You you guys argue. I've seen you argue every day. Like, I promise you don't.
Right. What about this one? Why the fuck do you have to get your wife flowers on Valentine's Day or your girlfriend? Why can't you do it every other day of the year? Why do we need Valentine's Day to be the one day that the piece of shit dude who doesn't do shit for their girlfriend or wife, then they can be the man? Fuck that. Treat her like that every day. We don't need a
dude. I do look at every social norm, and we're being funny right now. I do understand, like, people listening. I do understand the utility in social norms. Like, I'm just being an asshole. But I do like to question things, because this goes back to wrestling. Everything ties to wrestling, right? So one of my least favorite quotes and phrases is, "We do this because that's what we've always done." So have you ever heard? I think Joe Rogan talks about this really well, and I'm going to paraphrase as well as I can. This experiment with these 4 apes. So 4 monkeys were in this pen, and there was bananas at the top. Have you ever heard this by chance?
No, I didn't.
So there's these bananas at the top of this pen, and when they would climb up to get the bananas, the scientists would spray them with like this painful fire hose, right? So this hose would just smoke them, and it hurt. The water would hurt their skin, and they started to get conditioned that if they grab the bananas, they will get sprayed with the hose. So anytime one of the monkeys started climbing up, the 3 other monkeys would beat the fuck out of the monkey because they didn't want to get sprayed. They knew if that monkey got to the banana, they would get sprayed. So what do? They take one monkey out and they put a new monkey in. Now that new monkey has never been sprayed by the hose before. So what does he do? He naturally climbs to the top to get a banana. The 3 others beat the shit out of him. So now this monkey knows, okay, if I climb up there, I will get the shit beaten out of me. So what do? They take another monkey that's been sprayed by the hose and they put a new monkey in that hasn't been sprayed yet. So now it's 2 and 2, right? Same thing takes place. All of a sudden, they keep replacing monkeys until it's 4 monkeys that have never been sprayed by the hose. But every single time one of them climbs up to get the banana, what do the 3 other do? They beat the shit out of that monkey. Why do they do that? Because that's what we've always done. That's what our elders did. That's what we were taught. So in wrestling, I do think like this. I think, why do we do this? Like, you know what I think is nice? Like sometimes I just start wrestling. I don't jog for 10 minutes. It wastes practice for me sometimes. And it's a light wrestling. It's just a light spar. It's no different. If I'm running or if I'm lightly play wrestling, my legs are getting warmed up. So I always question, why do we do certain things we do? Why do we have to have this act like you've been there before? Because we always have. Why? I like to question things. I think it's important to, even if I'm wrong. It's good to have that kind of discourse and people arguing about wrestling. I think it's important. So, I know we're being funny talking about social norms, but I think it's important to question them. And when it comes to wrestling, yes, there's ones that are really important. There's a lot of traditions that are really important. I like things. Like, here's one that I think would build wrestling a lot. And I might lose a lot of the audience in this one. I like singlets. I like singlets more than 2 pieces. I think 2 pieces would be better for the sport long term because it would open the sport up to kids that have that homophobic narrative about wrestling. I think that. I would rather wear a singlet. But what's better for the sport, in my opinion, is I think 2 pieces. I think parents that have never wrestled, I think kids that make fun of wrestling and call it, oh, that you roll around with dudes, huh? I think like jujitsu doesn't have that narrative, but it's way more sus, right? Like it's weird. Like I don't get right. The compression top and the fight shorts, I think is a slick look. I think it's a slick profile. It's a good profile, right? And I think that the traditionalists in wrestling will say, why would you abandon the singlet? If you're not tough enough to put a singlet on, then you're not tough enough to wrestle. And they'll say stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you're not tough enough to get punched in the face, you can still be a fan of MMA, right? I want more fans. I want more freaking fans. And sometimes the singlet can be a barrier, I think. And if you disagree with me, good. Let's argue about it. That's good for wrestling. Let's get it out there. Let's freaking talk about it. Let's have opinions. It's good for wrestling.
They the colleges went to the 2-piece for a certain time.
But
why did they get away from
that? That's my theory. Nobody will change if they've already been accustomed to a singlet. So I think making it mandatory is good. Kind of like mandating a headgear. I think how it's made. Like if in 20 years from now or 20 years ago, people look at flip phones like kids and be like, I can't believe you guys use those things. That's crazy. But there was a time where me and you were hard pressed to go from our flip phone to a touch screen. It was like, I don't know if I want to conform yet. Like we're resistant, right? Because we grew up in that a little bit. So I think that would happen with singlets and 2 pieces. I think the people that are wearing singlets are going to be like, no, I'm used to this. I don't want to be the outlier, the single guy out, right? Doing this. But if we made it like a mandate, 20 years from now, a kid that grows up never wearing a singlet will look at it like, can you believe you guys used to wear that shit? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what happened,
Yeah. No, that's a good point,
but,
man.
Listen, I might be wrong. I don't know. I'm just a fucking idiot in Ohio who likes wrestling and wants to talk some shit, baby.
Exactly. The girls, obviously they wear the singlets. I thought for sure when girls wrestling started like getting that traction in Florida.
I think the straps are thick.
It is. There's a different cut. They have female cut and male cut. But I thought for sure they would go to 2 pieces, like knee length or whatever, and they didn't. And nobody gives a shit. I mean, the girls
wrestling has a lot of support right now. I like the support that. Yeah, it's good. And you know what? That just goes to show. If the Caitlin Clark analogy. If you show it, and we know some drama, we're gonna watch. I like good wrestling. I don't care what you are. I like good wrestling. And if freaking Kennedy Blades is beating a returning world champion Adeline Gray, I'm gonna freaking watch it. It's good wrestling.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She's badass, man. How about the high school girl from Arizona? Did you see her by chance? There's a high school. This high school girl won the boys state championship in Arizona.
Yes. What was her? I forgot her name.
And she made the finals against Hildebrand.
That's
done,
crazy.
There's some good matches at Olympic trials for guys too. Really good matches.
Unreal, man. Yeah, it was awesome, bro. I'll watch any wrestling, bro. I can watch a dual meet of you fucking 15 years ago, and I'd be excited to watch the wrestling. It's wrestling, bro. I don't give a shit. But going back to the girls wrestling, I don't know how it is everywhere else. I would imagine it's the same, but in Florida, man, god damn, bro, it is gaining traction, man. Huge. The I think USA Wrestling just did a study, and the percentage of girls who have USA cards compared to what it was, it's like some ridiculous number, like 400 or 500
Yeah, I
times
think it's the
what it was.
fastest growing high school female sport right now.
It is. I think it's the fastest growing sport, period.
Good.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
awesome.
It's the fastest growing sport, period. And, you know, it's more opportunities for these girls, man. And let me tell you something, they bring it, bro. So when I married my wife, she didn't know shit about wrestling. Yeah. The girls loves the girls.
Yeah, man, like I saw these two little girls, you know, there's a lot, obviously I'm not saying wrestling fans are sexist. They're not. But there probably is some people that exist that I don't want to watch it because they're women. I just want to say this to those people. I saw these two little girls run down to see Helen Morales with pom-poms and T-shirts. They looked at this girl like she was Superman. It was freaking amazing. You know what I mean? So if someone can inspire one little kid to say, wow, in a combat sport, a masculine sport, I can go beat the fuck out of somebody and look like a warrior and wrestle for the Olympics one day. If you can inspire someone to chase their freaking dreams like that, good for you. It's badass, baby.
And they're doing it, man. These girls wrestle just as hard as the guys. They grind as hard as the guys. So I'm a huge sport, and I promote female wrestling in Florida, and everybody knows I'm like one of the.
There was a good turnout at the clinic when I did Florida Pride.
Oh yeah. And it's getting even more, bro. It's getting even more.
Florida Pride wrestling, they're not having the clinics anymore right now?
No, they are. So what happened was the original founder and owner of Florida Pride Wrestling Camp was a guy named Glenn Goodman.
I've heard your son's talking about it.
First ever four-time state champ in Florida. He did all kinds of stuff. He was like really, really good. And he had it for like 30-something years, 29 or 30 years. And he just, I guess he got tired of it, and he had other things that he wanted to put his time and efforts into. And he just needed a break, I guess. And he came to Nick and said, hey, man, I don't know anybody better than you to run it. Do you want it? And Nick said, yeah. And Nick ran it for the last 5 years. And I got to tell you, nothing against Glenn, because Glenn's a great technician, great guy. I love him. Never ever say anything bad about him. But, he went from like maybe 50 to 100 kids at Florida
Nick
Pride.
had like 300-400.
450,
wow.
500 1 year. Yeah, it was crazy, bro. I
mean, it's good that they're getting matches too. Like that's, I think, a game changer. Like you're able to get matches. So you're getting good technique. You're getting like celebrity wrestling, like Jordan Oliver, right? You're getting dodgeball tournaments, so they're having fun. And you're being a little, you're sneaking out of your dorm at night, and you're being a kid on campus.
Right.
It's fun.
Right.
It's a good experience.
Exactly. And it's not just, you say big names, Jordan Oliver. Dude, you were there. Friggin' Richie was there. Bryce Meredith was there. Palacio was there.
Pantaleo.
Pantaleo. Whatever. Right, Pantaleo. That's right. Alec, right?
Yeah, he was there.
I always get the two
Julian
names
was
confused.
there. Sherman was there. Dante was there. Smalls was there.
Everybody.
Earl was there.
Exactly. Yep.
Earl's a two-time All-American, man. He's a big name.
Yep, the Florida greats, and then the guys not from Florida like you guys. But here's what I think the big difference is between what Nick did with Florida Pride and what so many other camps are just missing. They don't get it. Is the whole fun aspect.
Fun, man.
There was a whole time for just, no, we're not wrestling. Just stop. Let's have fun. And these kids made, lifelong friendships.
Wrestling camps is where I learned to fall in love with sports. I learned because it became a brotherhood. That's what wrestling is. Like we always talk about the brotherhood of wrestling, and you have connections all over the country. And I remember people from Tulsa when I was 8 years old. And let that happen. Allow that to happen. You don't do that by shutting them up and saying go to bed at 8 o'clock. And I get it. You have to have some rules because you're responsible for kids. Like I understand, but allow kids to have fun. Allow them to dick around a little bit. It'll be okay. It's a good thing.
For sure, man. How many miles do you put on your car
60,000 a year, baby.
Holy, what do you drive?
A Chevy Trailblazer. I just hit 200K. I got it in 2021. But here's the thing. I know that Chevy Trailblazers are their life expectancy is about 200, but it's only 3 years old. So maybe I can get like 20 more thousand out of it, maybe.
That's insane, bro.
If anybody is a car dealership owner, I will trade for a new car. I will trade social media posts. I will do whatever it takes. I do 80 wrestling camps a year. It's good publicity. Let's work something out, baby.
Yeah, man. Listen, at the 24,000 that we have, I know somebody's got a dealership.
Man. And
somebody's
if anybody owns a building that is about 30 stories, let me know. Allegedly, I will be on top of that, testing the gravity.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if that ever happens, I'm going to hook you up with the TFWR shirt to wear as you're jumping off that motherfucker and scream Ricky motherfucking cheese before you hit the ground. Oh, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. We've been going like an hour and 20 minutes.
No, I appreciate you. I'm going to have to come back if that's
all right.
Come back.
I'll keep you up till fucking midnight, bro. I don't give a shit. So real quick, and then I will let you go. How do they get a hold of you? I know you mentioned it before, but how do they? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
I post a lot, so I'm pretty active on Instagram, TikTok. I got a Facebook page just for wrestling, like a wrestling clinics page. But then I also got my travel and personal page.
Okay.
I call it my travel page. I post all my traveling stuff and personal stuff on that page.
Yep.
So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, just at Johnni DiJulius. I think TikTok might be at Johnni.DiJulius, but I spell Johnny with an I, JOHNNI, DIJULIUS. In Florida, I come down a lot. My girlfriend's family has a house in St. Pete area, so I come down a lot. I'm in Miami a lot with Jake. I go to Jupiter a lot to shark dive with my buddy Tanner. Okay. So I'm in the area a lot. I love doing clinics. I love using a trip as an excuse to do a clinic and vice versa. Hey, I have to go to Florida and do this clinic this weekend, and now I get to explore. I love doing clinics. Hit me up. Let's get some wrestling in. I love it.
Nikki told me that you were going to take his wife Amber shark diving.
Yeah, I think it was like too rough a wind or something that day. It was like the waves are too high. Okay.
So next time you're in Florida, man, you got to hit me up. We got to get something, whether it's skydiving with Lori or shark diving, bring Amber along. I'm definitely stoked to do that. And you know what? I'll try anything one time. And if I like it, probably more than that.
I love it.
Hey, anybody that wants to get a hold of Johnny, if you can't get a hold of him, just hit me up. I'll get you in contact with him. And I'm going to end the show with this. Here's the reason to get Johnni DiJulius to do your camper clinic, because he's fucking different. Your kids are going to learn things that, they may have learned somewhere else, but they're going to learn it in a way that they've never learned it. It's going to have his spin. And not to mention, he's got a way, you have a way of connecting with these kids and relating to these kids. No, I really do mean that, because I was there. I watched it. And these kids, they look at you as like a big brother for the weekend, right? Like it's not just, that's Coach DiJulius or that's they're like, you fuck with them, like smack them in the head,
I have fun,
or whatever it is. You gotta have fun, man. And these kids, they love that, and they pay attention and they learn. And the one thing that sticks out to me is fucking you and Bryce Meredith diving off the bleachers into the crowd.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Like the mosh pit type shit, man. It was just awesome, man. Nick has all that on his promo video, so anybody can see that. But, man, thank you so much, Johnny. I do appreciate it. Let's stay in contact, bro. You are the fucking man, and we'll definitely get you on again soon.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. Jordan, did we get...
Run it, baby.
This episode of Grinding for Greatness is sponsored by NRG Solutions. NRG Solutions is a family-owned and Florida-operated solar and energy efficiency company, proudly supporting the FloridaWrestling.com and the Grinding for Greatness podcast. Their operating owners, Jeff Messner and Logan Lightsey, are both former Winter Haven High School wrestlers. After many years of faithfully serving their community, their families decided to step outside the box and create a company geared solely towards energy efficiency. NRG Solutions helps their homeowners gain energy efficiency through several different solutions: solar, roofing, heating and AC units, HVAC, and home generators. Making the switch to an energy efficient home might seem easy, But finding lasting companies with your best interest in mind, not so easy. Now, their families are here to stay, and they're very committed to providing you with the best energy-efficient products and ongoing customer service you can count on. NRG Solutions has open sales positions available and would invite all former wrestlers to apply for these positions. Their company strives to embody the discipline, drive, and community the wrestling world built within them. It's a way of life at NRG Solutions. So go to www.nrgsolutions.life for more information or contact Jeff Messner at 863-287-6903. NRG Solutions, it's a way of life. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to grind for greatness. Enjoy the show. NRG